everybody. How you doing? This is Clinton Bonner from
Because those
TopCoder.
solar panels are so large and because of where our
academics as well, consulting firms, vendors who want to understand sort of
surface
neutral
tension
way.
experiments.
Hey everybody, Clinton Bonner from TopCoder. How we doing? Wouldn't it be awesome if you were walking down a city street doing whatever you were doing, and at the same time you were walking, you were actually generating electricity and charging your devices like your cell phone? Well, you know what? We're about to chat with a gentleman who is the CEO and co-founder of a company who's bringing that to life. Stick around on Top Coder Interviews. I'm joined by Larry Grumer, the CEO and co-founder of a company called Energy Harvesters LLC. What these guys are bringing to market is truly amazing. So I'm actually going to take a stop right here and say and introduce Larry and say to him, and hopefully he could give us a great understanding. Larry, what is Energy Harvesters, and what are you bringing to market for all these fine people out here?
Sure. Well, Clinton, thank you very much for the opportunity of doing this. So, Energy Harvesters is a company put together to bring an innovation to market. It's a device that will be embedded within footwear. It's called the walking charger, and it's going to allow you to charge your smartphone battery from your everyday walking. So, anytime, anywhere, you have your own personal electrical utility grid with you. And that's going to lend itself towards not only charging batteries, but if it's a GPS locator or if it's a boot heater. And we've been working on this for about a year and a half and made some progress with some of our prototypes.
And I got to see it in person there again up at it was at the Merrimack Valley Open Innovation Forum, and it was and you actually had it on the boot, and you were walking around and you saw the LED blinking and saw that it was charging, and I kind of went, wow, I want to tell people about this because. The fact is, of course, we're attached to more and more devices every single day, and the more and more you read about energy, it seems like we're going to have to start paying for this in some way or another. Even if you're sitting at a Starbucks and plugging in, the $2 coffee is not going to cut it. You'll probably have to start paying in other ways fairly soon because we're all consuming more and more energy, not less and less. So I was really impressed with what you guys are bringing to market, and obviously we're talking about a pretty big market in and of itself who could use this. Specifically, do you guys have any early targets for individuals or organizations that are clearly looking for this type of technology?
Yes, Clinton, we do. There's a hierarchy of needs. You look at the military. Soldiers are carrying 35 pounds of batteries on a typical 72-hour mission, and it's overburdened. I mean, that 35 pounds added to their weight gives them 100 pounds of gear, and there's no need for them to do that. We can remove about a third of their battery weight. Then you move to outdoor recreationalists, mobile workers, people that are outside and don't have access to the grid. Perfect opportunity for them to walk around, have a charging device within footwear for their purposes. And then it extends from the military to outdoor recreationals to first responder and eventually to the everyday consumer. In fact, some student user groups might be the early adopters because they're so power hungry users for their smartphone devices. So that's kind of the hierarchy of our targets.
Yeah, and I'll give you a perfect example. This gentleman named Adam Moorhead, he's our director of creative services at TopCoder. I was at an event with him recently in Manhattan, and inside his jacket pocket, he had the extra battery that he was carrying with him just to give himself a boost back to his iPhone, which would give him 4 something more hours. So he's carrying an additional device that he has to plug in to possibly get juice on demand when he needs it later. And of course, this could be solved by the fact that he was walking around a big event all day long, and he could be self-charging, which is really a wonderful innovation. Spinning it over to the innovation side, we talk a lot about this on Top Coder, and we talk a lot about how innovations actually come to be and the difference between invention and then bringing it to market as an innovation where the market can digest it. So there's always these two trains of thought where some people think it's a mad scientist, tinkering away, and they had that brilliant aha or eureka moment and they finally get it. And then there's the other train of thought that says, typically these solutions exist and they're repurposed for a new usage. Can you give the viewers some understanding of how this came to be and how you guys were able to bring this through prototype and how it manifested in your brains?
Sure. Excellent point. There's no shortage of creativity, loads of patents, tremendous opportunity, but to take that invention and innovate and get a product out of it is a different matter. And that's usually where things fall down. The way this all started, I was running a MEMS-based company, an energy harvesting company, And we had, I think, 23 patents. Half of them had issued, a deep domain of wonderful expertise, creativity, invention, and making that applicable to a marketplace became challenging. Not so much because the market wasn't interested, but the process to make the stuff that we were doing. But along the way, we said, wait a minute, footwear, personal electronics, that's a huge market space. I wonder if there's a better solution. So we applied what was a market learning experience from the first company to this new company, Energy Harvesters, and said, let's take that as the marketplace and what could we bring to that that is straightforward and implementable, and you don't have to go through a whole creation and invention process of manufacturing and then integration issues. So we came up with an idea. We said, look at the Shake flashlight. I think people have seen that. You shake the flashlight, it lights up.
Yep.
Very old technology. It's a 200-year-old technology. And we said, okay, how do we get that so we can put it in footwear and we can drive that to produce the same kind of electricity that the flashlight does, but now sufficient for smartphones and for other purposes. So that's where we went forward. So working back, I think, in 2010 preliminary, looking at university patents, emerging research, nothing came off. We said, gee, that's too bad. Let's keep innovating. And we did. We said, we can make this smarter, advanced materials, multiple magnets, multiple coils from that flashlight concept. And lo and behold, we made some prototypes and it worked out. We made some advanced technology demonstrators, that worked out. And then we proceeded to file our own patent a year later and continue to make developments that make this into a commercial enterprise.
Very cool. Great tale there, and it just kind of shows you how long sometimes it could take to have that initial idea and really bring it through and see it to the point where you guys have that working prototype, and now you're looking to take those next steps. Very quickly, I think folks out there would be interested in understanding the patenting, how patents work, and how long do these things take from an organization standpoint when you're a small, you're bootstrapping things, no pun intended, but you're doing things as lean as possible, and then you've got to go accomplish in getting your patent structured and get them secure so that you can go to market confidently. How long does that typically take in a micro, a short answer, how long does that typically take a company like yours when it's so tech, let's say tech-centric, right? This is a brand new technology that you've invented or applied. How long does it take to kind of run through that patent phase?
Sure. So from exploring what we were doing 2010, forming the company in 2011, we filed what's called a provisional patent in the summer of 2011. That's kind of a holding place for our first, in this case, to file for our patent. Now, we prepared that. It wasn't perfect, but it was good. The following year, you only have a year from a provisional patent to apply for a full patent. And during that year, we advanced the state of the art. A lot of companies don't do that. They file a provisional patent. They think that's the end game. A year later, they file their full patent. Well, we did a lot of creation and invention along the way, which we added to our patent, and we filed a full patent in 2012, a utility patent. So it's probably a year to make sure that you get it right. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be perfect initially. That's why you can do a provisional. And along the way, you can amend it and add to it. So it's clearly a year process. Some companies will stay quiet for a period of time and then file a full patent right off the bat. But we're not heavily funded. We're self-funded. Mm-hmm. So we were able to take these steps a lot more incrementally.
Very cool. And then you took that year as an advantageous time to do those the iterative phases and make it even better too, which is
huge
really,
improvements came from as a result of that.
Which is really quite impressive.
Very cool. I think adds to the benefit of our patent, the number of claims that we have.
Sure.
And what I think ultimately be our protection in market.
That's great, and that's really good for our audience to understand, because we have a bunch of innovators, people, or want to be innovators. They have their ideas, they want to bring them to life. So understanding that process, I think, will be really key for them. So no pun intended here, but your next steps. So you guys have your provisional, you're done with that. You put out your full patent now. What are you guys looking to do from a company perspective, and
Sure.
from a actually, where do you want to see this thing go in the next, let's say, well, you tell me your timeline, but I'm guessing 6 to 18 months. What are you guys looking for as near-term next steps?
So we built 8 prototypes. we've taken the incremental technology of the generator, the one that produces the electricity, and we've improved upon that. We've improved upon our circuits. We have an insole. We've improved upon that. And then we have the device that you saw, which was the inboot application. What we need to do is shrink everything down so it fits nicely within footwear, within the heel of a boot, so that the customers, the manufacturers of footwear, the name brands, can see this as a huge innovation and ready to go to market. So we need to raise some money to do that. We bootstrapped along our way. We've been self-funded. We've got manufacturing partners that are co-investing with us. They're providing in-kind manufacturing services. So all that's been helpful. But now we really have to dig in deep, raise that capital so we can make this an industrially ready part, an industrial ready product, because that's what the footwear brands want. The nice part about working with footwear brands, although it takes you maybe longer to get to them, is that when they accept your product as an OEM, they go to market through their regular channels. We don't have to worry about establishing distribution and retail and customer interface. So it's a nice position to have. So we see ourselves raising capital, first round of capital, small amount, seed fund, to get us through that key proof point, and then a follow-on round of capital that will get us into the production mode.
Very cool. And so looking beyond that near-term timeline, just from let's say it's 10 years on, 20 years on, and just the idea of self-generated electricity in general, where do you see it playing out from a kind of a macro market perspective? Is this something you think will be quite pervasive or rather niche?
I think it'll be quite pervasive, and I say that because electronics are becoming ubiquitous to us. We're overwhelmed with it, and there's more and more coming. Whether it's your smartphone, your iPad, your day-to-day communications, there's heads-up displays, goggles, location devices, and it keeps growing. There's going to be a continuation of a trend that I call wearable electronics. And we're going to be integrated with our devices more and more seamlessly. So right now, there's a problem. You've got a battery, it has to be recharged, you've got to pop it into your device, or your device has to go into an electrical outlet. We're at least helping that process by saying it's seamless. We can now have your charger with us. And I do think we're going to find more and more of those wearable electronics. Your vest, your jacket can be your antenna for your phone, so you're going to get huge reception. Solar might be knitted into fabrics and clothing. Energy harvesting, as we're doing from your human walking, adds to that. And I think that's going to be enormous. The business is at that intersection of mobile electronics and footwear, two giant global markets. And the need is apparent, as we've talked about, for our market. But you look at other places in the world where there's 5 billion mobile phone subscribers, and 500,000 of them don't have the ability to charge their smartphones. And that says that's a huge number. 500 million do not. 500 million people don't have the ability to charge their smartphones because they don't have electricity at home. So that's a big undertaking that we have to pull forward. And I think this mobile electronics and this integration in wearable electronics will be a huge trend to keep an eye on.
Very cool, and I happen to agree. And that's mainly why I invited you here today, because I really think it is it can be that smash hit story there. And you see that the world is trending that way. More and more people are device centric. So the investors that are out there, if this is interesting to you, obviously they can contact you. We'll put up your information on the screen so they understand how to get in touch with you and your team. But if you're interested in quantified self devices, if you're interested in military applications, in sports applications, all the things we chatted about, or just hey that student body, or that city group, that city citizenry that's going to be walking around and pounding the pavement all day long, and you want to understand a way to maybe have a greener city and have a more sustainable society because people are generating their own power. Well, this seems like a really good, again, no pun intended, but a really good step in that direction. So I really do appreciate you taking the time to not only meet up in Merrimack, but then to join me for this interview as well. And any last parting words for the good folks out there?
Yeah, there's Hurricane Sandy. We got call from people we know in New York. Where is your product? Lights were down, utility was down, people running out of cell power for their phones and no place to plug in. So we saw that there's a real need for this. You mentioned sports, and people can monitor what they're doing, whether it's athletic or health monitoring,
Sure.
medical monitoring. So we're excited about the opportunity, and we're really looking forward to expand our reach into that marketplace, not with our own product, but by partnering with people who understand those market segments.